because it is 7 p.m. We are at the Milwaukee Makerspace, which means it's time for Model Monday. We are going to draw some stuff in not one, not two, but trace dimensions. Today we have a request for a space project. So we've been working on, or Brian, Electronics Area Champion, has been working on the locker system for the Milwaukee tools that are right out there, where you go and you type in a code, your badge number, and then you tell it what tool you want to use, and it unlocks that drawer, and you go in and use it, and that way we know who took each tool. And in each locker need to be a board, just like this right here. This is the board that you just got a step file model of. Neat. Yeah, sure. You pass it around the room.
What kind of board is this?
That is a printed circuit board. No, I don't know. It's going to have some RJ45s sticking out of it, some Cat5 cables. Yeah, that's going to be the board that communicates with other lockers.
It's a really slow PC.
It's not an Arduino, it's a custom board though.
It is a custom board, yes. Brian has custom designed that board to go in the lockers. And we need to make a case that protects it from people shoving tools in, and to protect the back of the circuit board from the locker, because the locker is metal. And that circuit board does not like to touch metal because it will short out. And then Brian will have to solder a new one together, and he'll have a bad time. All right, cool. So what we want to do is, first thing is I would encourage you to be in your projects list here to start a new project.
Mine is not existing yet.
So over here in the side panel, if you can't see your little side panel, you got to hit the little icon that looks like a Rubik's Cube up in the top left-hand corner, and you can see all of your projects. Now you may just have one project that's got a bunch of different files in it. That's how I started using Fusion 360, but I have recently the project is the top level organization system here in Fusion, and then inside of a project you have different files. So if I hit the little home button, so what I'd like you to do is start a new project. So hit the new project button, name that project whatever you want to call it. We're making a case for
Circuit board enclosure?
yeah, circuit board enclosure. That works.
It logged
Yeah,
me
mine
out.
was not logged in yet, so.
Oh, cool.
start
Yeah,
talking about it.
So where's the new project? I see new everything else. I see uploaded a new folder.
Oh, so go hit the little home button.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Ah.
Now you can hit new
Thank you.
project. There you go.
Now it
And now you can call that project whatever you want. Cool. Cool. Yep, you can call it whatever you want. Case or I called mine Brian Flannery. That's what I called my project. Because it's a project for Brian.
What is this thing called again?
Circuit board.
That is a circuit board.
So I know the terminology, but I always forget it.
All good. All good. Now, once you've got a new project, again I called mine Brian, you can double click on it and you will open up that project. Now you will see nothing in there, unlike me, because I have already prepared partially for class. So what we want to do here is we will want to upload an existing file, that file that I provided you. So if you click on the upload button there, you will want to click on the blue select files icon or button.
It's a 5-pin, it almost looks like a light.
And then you'll want to navigate to wherever that step file is on your computer.
Mine is saying it does not exist because I took the USB thing out.
Upload.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, the sine wave will be generated by the effect right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the testing about. The wave round.
Cool. Success, success, getting there,
Getting there.
moving in the right direction.
Yes. I got a bar graph.
All right, good. That's the best kind of graph.
Yep.
Bar graph. Objectively, the best graph that there could possibly be. Well, other than, is a Venn diagram a graph?
What about a foo graph?
Yeah,
Good
it's
graph?
about halfway there, which seems odd to me, it's taking that
All right, that's good, that's good.
Oh, same.
Pie graphs are nice because it makes me
Mine is
think
saying
of
it's just a shortcut.
Oh,
I'm a sucker for a good stack bar.
Well, I
No,
saved it to
but-
my desktop though, and it's saying it's.
Yeah, there you
let's try it again.
Well, you're just hitting the demo button.
And then close the window when complete?
Yeah, and then once it's complete,
Just shut it again.
see right there. Cool.
And so using this, new project thing would be for your multiple component project, kinda like
Yeah,
that thing I was building.
one file in the project.
Cause that thing starts to crash, but when I started to like organize the file, it all turned into a wireframe and I couldn't.
Ah, okay, right on, all right. Just
Yeah.
too many parts in there.
And it started getting screwed.
Cannot crunch polygons.
Just shut it.
There you go.
It is read only. Do we leave it read only?
You can leave it read only.
Yeah.
You could totally leave it read only. In fact, you won't even need to open it. I think it's going potentially. Try minimizing whatever window that is there. That's like an Arduino thing, so you can click cancel on that. Move this window up. I think there's more of it that exists down there, then you can upload right there.
That's weird.
There we go.
So is there another catalog, like MasterCard for these electrical components?
There is, so that was made in another program, but Fusion can do electronics and has electronics components built into it. that you
Yeah,
can-
it's all the stuff I learned, I completely overlooked the most obvious stuff. And I didn't have the full page.
Ah, right.
Dumb.
We got there, we got there. All right, cool. And then you can hit close, and I'm gonna steal this, so I don't forget it. All right, cool. So, now that we are all uploaded, now the next thing I'm gonna do something crazy. No, maybe not. So I am going to, yeah, why not? I'm gonna delete this file so mine looks just like yours. Delete. Crazy. All right, so we want to add this file into another file. What we'd really like to do is insert this file into the current blank document that I have here and just start modeling around that. But we can't insert this into our current blank document until we first save our document. So what I'm going to do here is I've got a new blank document open here, just called Untitled right now. And if I just hit the little save icon, which is the 3.5 inch, or sorry, 3.25 inch floppy disk icon up in the top there. If I did, see, you have to make it a 3.25 floppy disk icon, because if it was a 5.5, nobody would know what that icon represented, and then it just wouldn't serve the purpose anymore of being an effective save icon. So we're gonna call this, I'm gonna call this the case, because the thing that this file will include mainly is the case. You notice here that I have a location. This location is the project name. but I could be making this file and saving it in some other project if I wanted to. But I'm going to save it in the current location. Now once I hit save, then we'll have another document that pops up here in our project. And now that we've saved it,
Yeah, but I didn't.
if I right click on our little circuit board over in our project browser there, I can choose now to insert it into my current design. And it will just pop right in there. Now, it pops up right away with a move copy dialog box here. So if we were putting this file into a drawing that we had, it had to fit in with other parts here. We could move it and twist that around and rotate it to wherever we wanted it to be. But right wherever it puts it is just fine with me. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. All right. And then I'm going to click on the OK button. Success.
So far, so good.
All right, cool. So now we want to model around this part. What would be really nice is if we could use existing geometry in order to make our drawing. So our holes perfectly line up with mounting holes in our case, and everything just kind of perfectly lines up with each other. And we could do that, but we also need to have a surface in order to draw on it. And you can see, like if I just started drawing on the surface down here, then our sketch would kind of be like inside of the pins. Like these pins kind of stand off a little bit from the bottom of our circuit board. Where's our actual circuit board? Probably doesn't have those components on it yet. And so there's not a lot of components on here yet, so we can see, but the pins, you can see they definitely do protrude below the bottom surface. So we need to start by making ourselves a surface. You may recall that all of the surfaces, I'm sorry, I should call them planes. We need to make a plane in order to draw on first. So we're going to choose to use an offset plane. So what this will do is it will make a plane that we can use as our drawing plane, and it will be a specific distance away from some flat object. So the bottom of this circuit board is a nice flat object, and if I click on that, you can see it's generating a little yellow plane there, or actually it's quite large yellow plane. And I'm just going to take this little blue arrow and I'm going to move it down below those pins. Looks like about 0.1 inches, 1/10 of an inch, which is not a measurement in inches, I guess. It would just be weird to call out 1/10 of an inch, 0.1 inches. Would you call that 100 thou? Does that make sense?
1/100 of an inch?
100 thou? I'm just trying, like an 1/8 of an inch is a round number in the imperial measurement system, right? 1/10 of an inch is not. Anyway, we're gonna make it 0.1. I'm just.
Theoretically,
It is 1/10 of an inch. Whether that is an appropriate thing to call it in a sentence, I leave to the English majors. I leave to the English majors what I'm allowed to measure things in. Okay, cool. So now we can make a drawing on that plane there. So from the Create menu, I'm just going to go ahead and choose to create a sketch.
This outfit has one, they say it's huge.
And I'm going to hover my mouse over that plane that I just made. And when I get near it, it highlights and I can click on it to place that sketch on that plane we just made. And now we, of course, spin around, so we're looking kind of directly onto that plane that we just did.
150 vertical.
Now I want to make circles where all these holes are. I want to transfer those holes over to the current sketch that we have. And there is a tool that will allow us to take existing geometry and kind of project it onto the plane that we're working on here. In the Create menu, you can scroll down to Project Include, and then over to Project. It's also the P key on your keyboard, for those of you who like keyboard shortcuts. Cool?
Create, scroll down project.
What's that? Good?
Yeah.
Good, good? Found it?
Oh, I
All right, so yeah, project. Oh, did you see it?
Oh, yeah. I'll
Yeah,
find
cool.
it.
So we want to project. When we choose this, there's two kind of important options to look at here in this project window. We can choose to project specified entities, which is a little purple icon, or we can choose to project entire bodies. We want to project specified entities. So what'll happen here is it would be really easy if we could just say project this whole, just click on this body and project everything from this body down onto this drawing. But later on when we go to extrude things, we'll have to click on each one of these holes as a thing to extrude, and it'll be a pain in the butt. So what we want to do is, instead of bodies, we want to choose specified entities here. And if I carefully hover my mouse, you can see I don't want to click on it here. I got red lines over everything. If I carefully hover my mouse over just that edge of that circle, and I click that edge, it'll say, hey, you got one thing selected. Now we want to do that for all four of our little mounting holes.
I don't know. I paid $1,000.
In addition to all four of our mounting holes, we also want to project the opposite corners of our item here. So I like to do opposite corners. You could also, the goal is to eventually get the edges here. I find that using specified entities, especially because I choose to use a trackpad most of the time I'm using Fusion 360, it is difficult to make sure you actually click on the line and not the body. So the least amount of clicking possible is going to be the way I choose to project items. So I'm going to click on project this point over. And I'm going to project over the opposite point. This way I can get the geometry of this board, and all I'll have to do is draw a 2-point rectangle that connects those dots. Otherwise I'd have to like make sure I click on this line, and then make sure I click on this line, and then make sure I click on this line, and then make sure I click on this line. So I'm lazy. That's why I'm choosing to do it this way. And like I get carpal tunnel in my finger if I have to do too many clicks. All right, so 6 items is what I have. It's probably what you should have too. And I'm gonna click on Oakley Dokley, the Oakley Dokley button. All right, cool. So now I could turn off the visibility on my circuit board component here. This comes in as a component. So I could turn off the visibility on that now, and now you can see what I've got projected. So I've got my 4 circles, and I've got my 2 points that represent my opposite corners there. I'm going to connect the dots on those points just by grabbing from my Create menu a 2-point rectangle tool here. So I'll grab this 2-point rectangle tool and I'll click and specify the first corner as that either one of my points and the second corner as the other point.
I screwed up, Carl.
How dare you!
I didn't. I named my files the same thing, and now I'm building in the same file as the other file. And when I do this hide view, it doesn't.
Oh, I mean, it'll be fine if you just draw it on the same file. It'll be fine. The world will not come to an end. One demerit on your, on your
Used to it.
list. Is this your second demerit?
This is.
Oh, you don't want to know what happens at 3 demerits.
Oh, I'm gonna find
Yeah.
out next week.
You'll have to ask Mike what happens when you get to 3 demerits. No, I'm just kidding. Mike's never received a demerit. He's a wonderful student, unlike some people. No, I'm just kidding. It's gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the very inner edges of our circuit board. Those of you who've ever tried to put 2 things together will know that if your 2 pieces are exactly the same size, they will not fit inside of each other, because friction. So the first thing we want to do here is we want to create a little space. Actually, let's create our walls, and then we can create some space afterwards. So I think the way, actually, you know what, let's do this 2 ways. Let's go ahead and say finish sketch. I'm not actually sure what is the best way to make a case around this board is, because 3D printing takes a lot of time, and we got to make a metric fuck ton of these, as some people would say, because there's got to be 1 in each locker. So a laser cut case may be the way to go. If we were doing a laser cut case, we're done doing our drawing. If we come up to our create menu and choose the extrude option, we can choose that sketch profile that we just made, and I can take this arrow and I can pull it down. Let's make it 1/4 of an inch, just because 1/4 inch plexiglass is really easy to find, and maybe this will make a plexiglass case. So I'll make it 0.25 inches, and I'll say okay. Now we can do it again. Oh, did we lose you? So,
Yeah. I got almost there.
It's a bug.
And then
cool. So yeah, then you just gotta select the profile that you're gonna extrude. So there you go, and then give it 1/4 of an inch as your dimension. There we go. Cool.
there we go.
All right. Now we can do that one more time to make the top of our case here. So from the create menu, we'll choose extrude once again. We'll choose the same sketch that we just made. So I'm kind of looking at it from the side here. It's going to be hard. You won't be able to click on your sketch if you're looking at the bottom of the board here. But if we peek in the crack, which is not a thing that you should normally do with the Makerspace, you're going to have a bad time. So what we want to do is we want to extrude this item, but we want to start our extrusion. Actually, I wonder if this is an interesting way to do it. We want to start our extrusion all those connectors should be visible. Now this is pretty interesting. Let's try this. We're gonna start our extrusion from an object. So normally we start our extrusion from the profile plane. So we start from the place that we drew the sketch. We extrude from that place in space. We can, however, choose to start it from an object. So if we choose that start drop-down menu there and we choose to instead extrude from an object, and the object that we're going to start from, I think I'm going to make it that object right there. So that is probably the highest part of our circuit board that is not a connector. Because we want to have visible connectors. And I'm going to extrude it up 1/4 of an inch. So for these purposes, it is a negative number. Negative 1/4 of an inch gets me extruding our kibbles and bits upward. Yeah, negatives and positives always kind of mess me up here in Fusion. You know, in my mind, going towards the top should be a positive number, but I think it depends on how you draw your sketch. Yeah, it's a weird thing. What's that?
Only was that a yes?
Yeah. So undo your amount there. Go back to 0 there. And then now for your object, uncheck that object, just so we make sure we have the right object. Just click the little X button next to it. There we go. And now you can try clicking on that. There you go. Yep. And then you can type in your distance. Try positive. Try positive 0.25.
Mine worked with positive, I don't know why.
Yeah. It's screwy, it changes around on you.
Just get rid of your plus there.
Sometimes it flips
So
it.
0.25.
I did not.
There you go. Cool. Cool. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Now we've got an interesting problem here, right? Because we've got our body intersects with a whole lot of what's going on with our circuit board. So we want to create some cutouts for all of those various connectors, so they're accessible, right? So we can plug stuff into them. But we also want to cover most of this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create another sketch. So we'll click on create. Actually, you know what? I should be doing better at naming my bodies. This is the bottom. This is the top. And we've got a sketch. The sketch, this is also the bottom. Surprised nobody yelled at me like, body 1? That's not the name of a body. Everybody knows that, Carl. Here I can reveal the hidden magic underneath that wonderful case that we're making. Look, hidden magic.
X-ray vision.
X-ray vision. All right, so now I can make a sketch. Now that I've appropriately done my housekeeping here and named my bodies and sketches. Well, I'm holding. Oh, holding. I hear sounds that make me slow down.
Things disappeared.
Good. What kind of things?
My bodies just went somewhere.
Command Z. Oh wait, hold on. You went back in time. You're
I did.
editing your sketch right now. So you're editing your sketch?
Ah,
And
okay.
because you're editing your sketch, you're back in time before there were bodies.
Oh, okay.
You're so far back in the past
Oh.
Sounds
Okay.
like something I would do.
that you were before the formation of solid bodies. You're just like a mass of heat and light at the beginning of the universe? An infinitely dense mass of heat and light? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the create icon. I'm going to choose to create a sketch. And I'm going to create that sketch on that top body. So this is the body at the top of my case. If I create my sketch on that body,
Okay. You do that.
oh, so here, let me do it again. I'm gonna delete it. And delete, here we go. So I'll click on create. Here I'm looking at it kind of three-dimensionally. So create. We're gonna create a sketch. So create a sketch. I'm gonna click
I
on.
got ahead of you this one.
All right, cool. All right. So now I'm looking straight down at this newly created sketch, and I'd like to take some existing geometry that already exists. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to temporarily turn off the visibility on my top body here. So the little eyeball icon next to the word top will let me hide it. And I need to hide it because in order to project the geometry that I need to be able to see the geometry in order to project it. So now that we've hidden that body, we'll come up to create again. We'll come down to project include and over to project. And this time I might be able to choose, I can choose bodies now. So we can save ourselves some click because each one of these little components here is its own body. So in our project selection filter, I can change the selection filter now to bodies. A, bodies are a lot easier to click on than specified entities. And B, like for example, this connector here, if I click on it, it gives me all 4 sidewalls for that body there. So now I can go through and I can click on each one of the 4 connectors along this side. The connector on the top there, actually there are 2 connectors up at the top. There are 2 connectors at the bottom. There is also these big connectors, these big connectors over on the side here. We'll need to project both of these. So those connectors are these guys, right? And then the final thing that we need to project is our dip switches here. So these dip switches need to be pressable. So, or selectable, so we'll make sure we have those dip switches visible. I got 11.
11.
More screwdrivers, Tony, something smaller.
So we got 2 on the bottom, 4 on the back, 3 on the top. All right, cool. And then I'm gonna go ahead and say okay.
You have a half voltage at the input of your little regulator.
So now if I wanted to, and I do, I can turn back on the visibility on my top body
Have 5 coming in and 3
so
coming
I
out.
can see it. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, and click on the finish sketch button here. All right, so I've got a new sketch to name. This, I'm gonna call it my top sketch. Close enough for government work. All right. Yeah. All right. So now we can extrude out. We can cut away these bits by using the extrude tool. So if we click on the create menu, come down to extrude. I'm going to choose each one of those rectangles that I've projected over onto this body, or onto this, what are we calling these again? Plane, onto the plane. Now, the default here is join here. If I take this arrow and I pull it up away from our body here, the default will be to join them together. If I push my arrows down into the body, it will default to the operation of cut. And that is indeed what we want to do here. Now, for some of us, you will want to make sure you spin down the objects to cut dialog box here. My guess is, because this circuit board is a whole separate component, it's not going to pop up as an option for me to cut it out. So you're not going to be, when I hit OK, here I've got little checkboxes here, and I can say, hey, which object do I want to cut from? I want to cut just away from my top, not from my bottom, so I'm just going to uncheck that. It could be that because you're all in one document, you will have a whole bunch of checkbox to
No,
uncheck.
it's that it's inside the circuit board and I can't select it, so I'm gonna move the sketch up to the top
Cool.
and go
Right
from
on.
there.
Right on, right on.
But I don't know what he needs.
And I think I had a similar problem as they use the button click on individual items to select them like this extrude.
So
this
you've only got one.
Yeah, I know, but when I try to
selected.
click on it, it's clicking on this, not the objects underneath it. Not
Same
letting-
problem.
Man.
I'm trying to find this in here. Just so it
Oh,
seems like this, not
So that sketch plane isn't on the right surface. So you can do that all in one also. So this sketch plane here
Well, not from the manufacturer.
is down here. We actually wanted it to be on top. So if you right click
I
on
don't
that,
know who put it out, but I did a lot of searching when I found down who did it.
I'm building a weird.
oh, because it was a step line.
Free build.
And the design history didn't automatically.
I can catch up. I can catch up.
So you can choose to redefine the sketch plane.
It'll help me get.
And then click on that surface right there. Not that one. It's that one. There you go. Cool. And then
The output of the amp into the.
cool. So now you can go and extrude those bits.
Output or.
Yeah.
So I should delete, right?
And where is yours?
Basically.
Oh, here. I wonder if you can right click on your top sketch.
Yeah.
And then choose redefine sketch.
He's a bass player and if you want to talk
Yeah, that's not really what you want to
grasp
do.
the concept.
But you could move it way up. Yeah, go, there you go, that's probably far enough. So then you could say, okay, and now you could turn on your top body.
Good enough for government work.
Right?
So you want to extrude out just,
Is a professional.
we have to turn on because these things are
Yeah, about the same.
higher than the sketch plane,
Yeah.
when you went to try to click on the sketch that existed underneath there, what you actually did was click on the top surface. So you said, oh, hey, you screwed up to that. It thinks you want to be screwed up to that, but actually you don't want to do that. You want to screw down. And yeah, and then I always just like to spin over my little objects to cut option there and just make sure that it's not cutting away bodies that you don't want it to.
So I have a real quick question, just looking at this, it's like this guessed at where my next steps
Yeah.
were gonna be. Okay, these connectors here with the pins and the little slots on the side, are the things that go in the slots, are they just like little tiny ribs, or are they things that gotta be like latched and unlatched?
I'm uncertain.
Okay.
So that is a question that I have for Brian to see the actual connectors.
Yeah, cause otherwise those rectangles would have to be a little bigger if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Did you not stick out your distance was different than mine.
Well, so the distance doesn't matter, as long as it goes through that top body. It doesn't matter because we're only cutting away from this top body. So as long as it's more than 1/4 of an inch, then it will extrude down below it.
The actual connector doesn't stick out beyond the outside.
Beyond the edges of the enclosure.
Beyond the edge of the connectors, so
Okay, cool.
the bounding box will.
And there's no like little tab that you have to pull in because it clicks. Sometimes there's okay, cool.
But there might be some tolerance in the position.
Okay, cool. Right on. Oh, right from your soldered bits. Okay, I gotcha. So in actuality, we'll want to go and add a tolerance to these for the purposes of this class because when he goes to solder these on, the connectors may shift a little bit left or right or up or down, so we'll want to add a tolerance. But for the purpose of this class, we're not going to worry about that. But we do have bodies with a visible, so we can plug things in. Now, the last thing and kind of a stretch goal that we've got here is there is a button. There exists a button. If I turn off the top here, there exists a button right here. And we want this button to be pressable. But what my thought is, or what my thinking is that I'm going to try to make it a flexible button where the case just flexes. It's a compliant mechanism. If you've never Googled compliant mechanism, I've just given you hours of enjoyment. So if you're a nerd like me, compliant mechanism. All right. So now, in order to make that button, I'm going to make another sketch. So we're going to go ahead and click on Create Sketch. I'm going to create my sketch on my top surface. Now, something I'll point out is my sketches are hidden. So I already have a sketch that exists on this top surface, and it will be almost impossible for me to make a new sketch if I'm clicking on an existing sketch. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm clicking on an existing sketch. So what it'll do is, even though I'm saying new sketch, it'll just make a sketch. It'll add to the existing sketch. And that is indeed now, actually it did not, but so I make it a point to hide the sketch that exists on the plane that I want to make another sketch on before I click on Create Sketch and then choose that plane one more time to draw on. Now, we have to once again pull some existing geometry by using the Project Include command. So I'm going to hide the visibility on my top body. I'm going to click on Create, come down to Project Include, over to Project, bodies, I think is just fine, and I'm gonna click on, what I'm hoping is this is a perfect circle. So if I click on it, it will project that body over. And then if I click on OK, yes indeed, it is a perfect circle, and I can tell because it's given me a little dot right in the middle. So the whole reason I projected that is so I could get the location of that little dot. So I'm going to come over to the Create menu. I'm going to choose to grab a center diameter circle.
They sell the board for $60, but they don't have it now.
I'm going to make a center diameter circle that is concentric on our sketch here, and it's going to go like a ½ inch. Feels like a good button size. Yeah.
Sometimes the main control boards are not.
Actually, how big can I make it? I can't really make it much bigger than 5/8. So I am going to go with a ½ inch. So yeah, we're creating a sketch. And we took, I turned off the top body so we could project over with the project command, this one we've been using a lot. We could project over this little button. So we're projecting over this little button. And then once you've got the little button projected, now we can draw a center diameter circle right on top of it. Right there.
I seriously, I don't know what's going on, but it messed me up.
Create.
Okay.
Use the definition.
So right now you need to create a sketch. Oh, and here, so you can click cancel there. And maybe it will take you, create a sketch. You'll want to turn on, where do I have you on your bodies?
Scanning, multiplexing, something
Where are your
like that.
bodies?
How do you deal with pressing the key fast versus light? How does that work out?
You've got like a base feature going on. You hit some sort of weird thing. Go ahead and click on that little checkbox up there.
But I did. I clicked on something weird. Okay.
Okay, now your bodies are back. So now you can turn on your top body. And you can turn off your sketches. There you go. Well, not just individually, because we're going to make a new sketch. There we go. So now if you click on Create, and then Create a sketch, and then you click on that surface as the surface you want to make your sketch on, and now you can turn off your top body, and now you can go to Create, and then Project Include.
There it is.
There you go, and then Project. And then if you zoom in, you'll be able to click on the little circle that's part of the button. You'll be able to scroll on your, there we go.
I think it's final velocity.
There we go.
Or maybe
And
pressure.
that's the body that you want to project, so you can just say OK.
See, there's only 40.
And now, if you click on Create,
Conductors.
and then Circle, and then center diameter circle, sorry. And we want to make a circle that's right in that middle there, so you can just click once and let go. And now you can move your mouse out. And now you can type in 0.5. 1/2 of an inch. All right, so now, so that is the finger part of our button. Let's go ahead and grab from the Create menu. Let's go ahead and grab the line tool. So we don't really need it to be centered, but we're going to make it centered. So I'm going to grab my line tool. I'm going to draw a line right from the center of those circles. So I just click to place the center point of my line. I'm going to draw it upwards. Can I go 0.75? Yeah, I can go 0.75. I don't know if that's enough flex, but we're about to find out.
You know what, I'll do what I just did.
Control C.
So I'm going to draw a line straight up 3/4 of an inch. And then from that line, I'm going to pause here. So everybody make sure we're all on the same page here.
What is this called again?
I'm happy with
Google search
So when you
something?
said 3/4 of an inch, I started to draw the line and did not go 3/4 of an inch.
Compliant mechanism.
That's
So
different than a snap fitting?
it is different than a snap fitting. Here we go. Look, it's autocorrected me. I've looked for this before. So this is an example of a compliant mechanism. So they're joints that are meant to flex, but they're not made of moving joints. So basically, it's like material that flexes as opposed to a joint that flexes.
So like a zip tie.
A zip tie is kind of, yes, a zip tie is a compliant mechanism. The little bit in there that flexes and grabs the teeth, that is a compliant mechanism. That's a great example.
So it thinks that I'm another
Because there's only 3 launch screws.
I want to adjust the
Control C.
Disney Research has a really fantastic white paper. For those of you who want to like super nerd out about computational design tools for compliant mechanisms, it's really, Disney Research is really fantastic, regardless of what you think about Disney.
Or Florida.
Or Florida, yes, they happen to be in Florida, but like, you should look at these videos. They're really great. Really cool compliant mechanisms for making like animatronic things. Here's like a little leg thing. I'll probably get like a takedown notice if I play too much of this, but anyway, so you get an idea. All right, cool. So we got a line that goes straight up. And now, if we click on the Create menu again here, we can draw ourselves a rectangle. If I draw a center rectangle, is that gonna get me around some things? Yeah. So I'm gonna draw a center rectangle. So I'm gonna click on Create Rectangle, and I'm gonna choose Center Rectangle. And then I'm going to draw that center rectangle right at the midpoint of that line that I just made. I just wanted to make sure I was making my rectangle centered on my circle here, so that's the whole reason for that line. And you find the midpoint just by hovering your mouse like near the middle. When you get close enough to the middle, it gives you that little blue triangle there. The little blue triangle is that midpoint constraint that it's giving you. And now I can make my line, or make it, it's going to be the same length as my line. Duh. It's going to be 0.75 inches in length. And let's make it 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, let's roll with that. 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to hit enter. All right. So just as a cosmetic thing here, I want to do 2 more lines on my button here, my little compliant button. So from the Create menu, I'm going to grab the line tool. And I'd like the button here to be flat at the sides here. It'll just be easier to press if I don't have to be in the middle, if I can hit the edge of the button too. So I want to draw a line.
I messed up my rectangle trying to fix it.
How dare you? Yeah, you no worries. You know, you could also, instead of a center rectangle, the other rectangle here we could do is, if we did just a 2-point rectangle, we just have to do it twice, or we have to mirror it after we do it. So I can make one 2-point rectangle that is 1/8 of an inch wide. It really just needs to connect to the circle. So that'd be a totally fine way of doing it.
So my rectangle is not 0.75. I don't know what.
Oh, then you might not be at the middle.
No, it's not connecting the ends either. It's, I don't know.
I'll come over and take a look at what you got.
Oh, here we go, now.
Yeah.
So somehow
That is
it's-
close enough.
There we go.
There you go.
I missed this step. Click.
No worries, no worries. How are you doing? Cool, cool. So yeah, exactly. Straight down, we want to have 2 lines that come down. We want our lines to be tangent to the circle. So 2 ways of doing that. So I want our line to kind of line up at the edge of the circle. So if I draw a line that comes straight down, and I get this little right angle constraint that pops up there, that's telling me that this edge and this line are going to be directly at a 90-degree angle to each other. I can draw my line purposefully in a bad spot. I want it to be tangent to that circle. So from our constraints menu, we can choose the tangent constraint. These constraints are rules about a sketch that tell it how to be what you want it to be. So I can click on the line and click on the circle, and you can see it went and snapped into place there.
I didn't see it being.
So, what's that? I'm going to do it one more.
Oh, I'm gonna, I know.
So.
I wanted a vertical line.
Yeah, a line that's straight vertical here that connects our circle to the edge of our part there.
I
And
need to make one of the endpoints tangent.
yes. Yeah, the line is going to be tangent to the circle. So we can either fix it after we draw it, or if you want to make a line tangent to a circle right from the beginning, you can do that with the magical button on your keyboard.
Yeah, well.
If I hold down the shift key on my keyboard, before I start making my line, I have not clicked anything to make a line. Now, still holding the shift key, I can click and place my line on that circle, and now you will notice, still holding my shift key, that it will not let me make a line that is not tangent to that circle. As long as I continue holding down my shift key this whole time, it'll force me to make a tangent line there.
Sure if I did the last part right?
I missed something similar to
No,
that.
no, but there's a couple parts I didn't.
That line here,
Think?
or actually it's a vertical line here.
Yeah, so I would make sure it's connected to the endpoint is on the edge of this box here. So we can do this all with constraints if you want. So from your constraints menu, if you choose the coincident constraint, there you go, you can make that coincident to the edge of that line there.
This one to
Yep. And now you'll want to add the tangent constraint to that line. That, and then that one right there, there you go. There it is,
So
there
we're probably
it
gonna
is.
mirror it over the other side, I assume?
You certainly can, yeah, or you could just draw it again, however you want to do it, that's totally fine.
I don't know
Cool.
if I did that right. Did I do it right?
Yeah, looks good. Yeah, yeah. If I zoom in.
If I got everything.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, yeah. So now you just want to do that again on the other side.
Left thumb only.
Oh, okay.
Try holding the shift key down this time. try the second one.
Actually gonna
Shift.
end up with no heart,
And
not
then
over, but.
What does the shift command
So shift will force it to be tangent to the circle. So if you hold down shift and then click on the circle to place the beginning of your line, that line won't be able to be not tangent to that circle. Kind of
Does that
forces
only
that.
work, does that only work on circles and tangents?
Correct.
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay.
Probably. Let's go with maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never tried it in another
I
way.
think I'm second guessing myself because I think one of my rectangles is not correct.
I think we're good. Yeah, as long as you've got a rectangle that attaches to your circle, you'll be fine. Yeah. All right, so now we want to come up and grab from the modify list the offset tool.
What? Not that I'm expecting it to work, but.
And I am going to do a whole bunch of offsets, like three, four of them. I'm gonna make an offset from my circle, and honestly, that default of 0.039 sounds just fine to me. We just need to give it a little gap.
It won't let me select from sketches.
What? It's not popping up like yours did. Click on something.
Try looking directly at the top.
Let's stand by the door, or still, or
I
click.
think
Try clicking cancel and do it again. Is that sketching on the current sketch that you're editing? So if you click,
We broke this key.
Finish sketch and open the sketch.
yeah, let's try that.
I get this quite a bit when I'm not here too. On occasion.
Whole thing is just shit.
Edit sketch.
Oh, you think it's getting stuck?
Weird
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we just lose some screws?
So it's weird, it seems like your sketch, can I use your
Of course, drive.
Well, that's it, you lose some screws and shift it up a little bit.
And just, yeah, stand it on this end, you tighten it up, that'll
There's
give you a
definitely a
gap.
sketch right there, right?
the slightest thing goes
No.
Click on it there.
And so you can hear a sound out of it, and that's kind of the point.
I'm
I
surprised.
don't
gave
know
him
why
my
you can't
email,
click on
I
that
did the
sketch.
robot test. Next time before it comes in, he'll call me.
I don't know what
Button.
intrude means.
Yeah, he's a robot.
The anti-robot test.
Project.
Thank you guys very much.
But I guess that the more that I use it,
Well, you help,
Project.
but it,
it's
Yeah,
my first time.
it's the effort.
You confirmed the
Oh my
witness.
God.
I wonder if
Always
you're,
fucks with me.
see, it looks like there's something in the foreground here
Anytime
that
something doesn't
that
work.
is preventing you from looking at your sketch.
Oh, what is this? Top body.
Try turning off all your bodies.
I thought you were gonna say inspected by number
Yeah, see,
42.
it still seems like there's something here that exists like in this step file, that it'll let you edit in the step file.
I actually
I
done
don't know,
this
something weird is going on there.
Not
Try remaking that sketch.
I'll send it to you. It's Word.
Well, here, let me finish this up and then I'll come and take a look at, because we're almost done here, and we're a little bit over. So, I just wanna offset a couple of things here. So I wanna offset that circle.
Oh, okay.
I wanna offset my rectangle here. Now I have two rectangles. So I have to offset them both. So I'm offsetting both of my rectangles there. And then the last things that I want to offset are those two little lines. Basically, I'm just making offsets of all of the geometry that I made there. And I'll turn off the visibility on that so it'll be easier to see all those offsets. And kind of coming back here. Let's see how we're doing. You'll have to do them individually, one at a
Oh.
time. Yeah, so you'll have to go and grab the offset again. Or you gotta grab your offset tool first.
Oh.
Okay.
And then
Oh,
try
there.
chaining the selection there. There we go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then both of the lines down here, you'll wanna offset them out from there as well. Very nice, very premium. Cool. So if you grab your offset tool again, now you can do your rectangle. There you go. And then you can hit enter. And then you want to do both of your lines down there. So you want to grab your offset tool first. And then you'll do one line, not the circle, but the line. So you can click the little X button.
That default offset distance is kind of like 1.0 millimeters, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So,
There you go.
1/25.
And you'll have to do them one at a time. So you'll hit enter, and then you'll go do it again. On the other side.
We're 39.37 inches in a meter, so.
maybe that looks better.
Yeah, something's weird there. It looks like this sketch and this sketch don't exist at the same plane. I wonder if it was when we moved your sketch up. If we moved it up, and now we go back to that sketch and we add something to it, where does that live in space? Yeah. All right, so we've got all those sketches made. The last lines that I need to make here, I'm just going to grab my line tool, and I just need to connect that rectangle up that way, and this rectangle up that way. The idea is that we get an area like this. So we're able to make a shape like that around the outside of our button. That's going to be the little area that we cut away. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Finish Sketch. And I'm going to turn on my top body. I'll turn on my circuit board. And if we come up to the extrude option here, and we extrude out all of these shapes around that side, and these shapes around this side. And I again make this a cutaway. So I extrude it into the body and make sure my default operation is set to cut there. Now, in theory, we've got a button that will flex. Now, how much flex that it gives you depends on the material. So I'm going to have to cut this out, test it, see if it works, and then go from there. Cool. So that is, oh, I missed an extrusion somehow. I missed that extrusion. And then my little, I'm going to cheat there a little bit. So there's going to be our case, basically. I'm going to have to do a test of this button in a couple of different materials. But we'll see if it works. Fingers crossed. But basic protection for a circuit board. We can always use little standoffs to hold it together. Little standoffs are like little spacers, basically, to hold that gap. But there we go.
Now, if I want to take it to another level, if that didn't flex enough, we could just cut away a little more of that little thing till
Yeah.
it's thin enough it moves.
Yep, so we can make that thinner. The other thing that you could do is you can make these longer. So the longer
Yeah.
these are, the more flex you'll get. the thinner this piece is, the more flex you'll
You
get.
could also hog out a little in the back and kind of make it a tab.
Well,
Add to the bottom so you don't have to move it so far.
yeah,
Especially if you found the tangent point, so it kind of is like flat and flat.
Just
and
make a
kinda
little
gets there,
nipple
yeah.
kind of at the bottom of
Or
that
yeah, that
board.
would be cool.
you can also
That'd be
cut
cool, a little-
cut patterns. You could cut a pattern into this of
Oh,
some sort.
yeah.
That would make it more flexible.
I like the little nipple idea, that way you can make it like 20 thou or so above, and it just gotta go a little bit.
Yeah, just got to go a little bit in order to get there, right?
And it's not like gonna fatigue and crash.
Yeah, so maybe a little spacer in there would be the way to go. But that'll have to be an experiment that I give a try to. Really, we just use the project command a lot. That was kind of the goal here. Use a lot of project command and importing a document in. So that was it. We will see you guys next week when we will model more stuff
Yeah.
on a Monday.